So in this video, we are going to look at how we work with negative fractions. So just really briefly, when you look at these three fractions that are here, -2 on top as a numerator, 3 as a denominator, or +2 as a numerator, -3 as a denominator, or just negative in front of the whole fractions. Is there a difference? And this is one of the things that people get confused about with negative fractions. There is no difference. All of these have one negative sign. They are all negative. Typically speaking, this one here and this one here are the two that we most commonly would see. And the other thing is, if you saw this one, you could change it to this if you wanted to. And my pen is having some issues. I have a new pen and it's not working very well. So I've got to figure that out. But let me try that again. So this could turn to -2/3 if you prefer. Okay, now the bottom one, a negative on top and a negative on the bottom, remember, that actually means that it's positive. So a lot of people get this mixed. So they get it mixed up because they kind of actually think that this one up here means that. It does not. Okay? This just means -2/3. It means the opposite of 2/3. This is something very different. This is like -2 divided by -3, which is +2/3. Okay, next thing just to quickly talk about, what if there's a negative mixed number? So again, remember when you change a mixed number into an improper fraction, we take the whole number and we multiply by the denominator and then we add the numerator. Where people go wrong here is they think of the whole number as -2, and they'll do -2 times 3 plus 2, which is -6 plus 2, and they'll get -4, and they'll say, oh, this is equal to -4/3. But careful, that is not true. Okay, this really means the opposite of 2 and 2/3. Well, what would 2 and 2/3 be? It would be 2 times 3 plus 2. So that would be 8/3. So this just means the opposite of 8/3. So be really careful when you're changing a negative mixed number, that negative sign is just saying that the whole fraction is negative. It's not just that the 2 is negative, it's that the 2 and the 2/3 is negative. So be really careful. So let's just look at a couple examples. So how would we deal with the first one? Well, same thing that we would deal with regular fractions. We would get a common denominator. In this case, it would be 8. Whatever we do to the bottom, we do to the top. And my advice to you, this one already has it, but my advice is to always put the negative on the top number. It will make it easier for you. And then really all you're doing here is integers. -7 plus 4. -7 plus 4 is -3/8. That's all it is. Okay, next one, same thing. We get a common denominator. That's 12, and that's 16. And then again, it's just integers. And if you prefer, you could think of this as adding the opposite. So that's really like 12 plus -16, or 12 minus 16, and you'll get -4. And then this one does simplify to -1/9. Where you put that negative doesn't really matter. You can put it with the 4 or you can put it in front. I generally, for my final answer, will put it just in front of the fraction. As I said before, top or in front are typically what people do. But when you're working with the fractions, typically that negative sign will go on top. It's a lot easier when you're working with the fractions. And then this last one, I'll just put a little line so that you see. First thing we do, we always change mixed fractions into improper. So that's 2 times 4 plus 1, that's 9/4. And then 3 times 8 is 24, plus 3 is 27. And then we get a common denominator, which in this case will be 8. And this will become -9/8. And you can leave it, you can't see that, sorry. That is supposed to say -9/8. You can leave it as -9/8. Or if you prefer, you can make it -1 and 1/8. That's up to you. Maybe the only other thing I want to just go through, because there isn't one, is like, what would you do if you had something like, let's say, -5/6 minus -1/2, okay? So again, we get a common denominator. I'm going to keep that negative with the top number. And then remember, when I subtract a negative, it's like adding the opposite, right? So this will become -2/6, which will be -1/3. So that's just kind of what you do if there's, say, a double negative. So try some of the problems out, and this is a bit of an extension, but a really good challenge for some of you that are looking to kind of expand your knowledge of fractions.